let's go ahead and start on our practice on our backs. And I'm going to recommend um, knees bent. I'm also going to recommend feet wide and knees flopped in towards each other, um, if that's comfortable for you. The idea is I don't want you to have to hold your knees up, So, but if there's a different way besides knees wide, feet or feet wide, knees flopping in, if you if there's a different position that's comfortable for you, or if you'd prefer astronaut, which is your feet up on the wall like you're in a chair, or putting your feet on something, you're welcome to do either of those poses as well. The idea is that you don't have to use your muscles to hold your legs up, is the idea. And as you settle in, notice all the points of contact uh, between your body and the ground or whatever you're lying on. And start to notice your breathing, the sensation of your breath. Maybe notice the feeling of wind as it passes in and out of your nose, or the movement of your ribs or your belly, trying to inflate the balloon of your belly on the inhale and deflate the balloon on the exhale. And if for some reason your nose isn't available to you today, sip the air through your mouth so you can have long, deep breaths. So, yoga means union, union of opposites, whether it's inhale, exhale, up, down, internal, external, me, you, yin, yang, black, white. Today, the opposites that we're focusing on are alignment, thinking that there's a way to do yoga or to find a shape in a pose. And the opposite of that, which is mindfulness, being aware without judgment. So, mindfulness is all about noticing and doing your best not to judge what you observe, which seems to be a little bit in contrast with the concept of alignment, where there seems to be a right way to do something. So today, when we focus on alignment, it's trying to keep you and your body safe. And only you are going to know if that's appropriate for you. Everybody's body's different. And only you are going to know how you need to modify or adapt or alter the pose so that you have the sense of the pose and you keep your body safe without aggravating whatever's happening in your body. Morning, Franco. So if you would please maybe grab the tops of your knees and give yourself a little bit of a self massage. And then your lower back, roll around a little bit. And then rock and roll up to sitting, because I'm going to use my skeleton friend here to talk a little bit about some of these alignment concepts. So, say my name. So here's my guy, girl. I don't know. It's a model, which means that nobody's body actually looks like this. One thing is it's this person's, this entity's pelvis is way too small to be either even male or female. It's definitely a child's pelvis, and you can definitely tell that because the rib cage can't be stacked over the pelvis very well, and it's way smaller than me, but the skeleton is actually taller than I am. So not male, not female, some kind of weird child pelvis. Also, this one has a terrible posture. Even though it has a lumbar curve, the rib cage is stacked over his or her pelvis. Its pelvis, their pelvis. So, but now it's a little bit better alignment. So when I talk about stacking, this is you want to have the natural lumbar curve and the natural thoracic curve as you stand up straight and try to stack these things. Now, hopefully as you're sitting there, you aren't in a C curve position. You're engaged a little bit, stacking everything up. And then the last thing is, even though if we're stacked, we often have a tendency to have our heads forward. Pull your head back. And then see if you can sit on your sit bones. So at the bottom of your pelvis, there are bones there. Ischial tuberosities, also called sit bones. And you want to be sitting on that because that'll allow your spine to stack in an appropriate way. So if you're just sitting on the floor, and now I'm ready to switch cameras. If you're just sitting on the floor with your butt on the ground, it's really easy to collapse forward. So you want to sit on your sit bones and stack everything up, and you definitely have to engage your core to hold your body up. So a way to make this easier is actually to sit on something. Having your hips a little bit higher than your knees allows you to stack everything without having to do so much core engagement. So if you have something sitting around that you could prop yourself up on or sit in a chair, but trying to sit in this sort of stacked position is where you want to be. I'm going to turn forward. Sitting easy poses is a great one, and also some people like their knees back on either side of a block or whatever you might be sitting on. That's sometimes comfortable for people. But let's start moving from here. Oh, I forgot to show you my shoulder joint. I'll do that in a second. Moving from here by doing nods. So consciously pull your spine into a C and then roll forward on your sit bones and consciously arch back the other way. And we'll just do nods of your entire spine. Try to, shoulder shoulders back, looking up with your head, not too extreme, but rolling back and forth on those sit bones to have your spine in this sort of nod position. Try to wake up our spine a little bit this morning. Have a sense of what that stacking feels like. Basically mountain while we're sitting. One more set. And then go ahead and we're going to do a side bend. But before we do that, put your arms into a T and then palms down and then try palms up. And feel what that does to your shoulder blades. So when we have our arms in a T with our palms down, often the tendency is to bring your shoulders up towards your ears and scrunch up at your neck area. So consciously try to drop your shoulders down, and then it's actually way easier to drop your shoulders down if you have your palms up, and then feel your shoulder blades draw down your back. And what's happening there is you're protecting your shoulder joint a lot more, and also you're able to move your arms up. And let me explain that a little bit with my friend. So you put your arms down. So in a shoulder joint, this is a ball and socket joint, but the socket isn't really much of a socket. It's made out of your shoulder blade and your collarbone coming together, and this weird little point at the edge of your shoulder blade is called the acromion process, and you need to, it's hard to get around that thing. So some bodies can do it and most can't. So if you raise your arms up into a T again with your palms down and try to come up, you probably can't go more than this. And the reason that you're obstructed is because of that acromion process. If you put your palms up, then it should wrap your shoulder behind that little process and allow you to raise your arms overhead. You can bring them back down again. So when we do a side bend, you want that palm up so that you can bring your arm over your head over to the side. So let's try that in a side bend. I have a hand down, my palm was up, and then I just leaned over and brought my arm overhead. So breathe into your rib cage, maybe create more space in between each rib. Feel a breath into your waist area. And come back up to vertical, and heels are getting sore. Back underneath it, and then we'll switch sides. So one hand down, palm up, arm overhead, bend over, and you'll get, that'll bring your arm over your head. Breath into your ribs, breath into your waist. Come back up to vertical, and we'll do a couple of, let's basically be in mountain pose from here, which is palms facing forward, giving you that external rotation, which engages the muscles around your shoulder and supports your shoulder. And then we can do a couple arms up overhead and arms down. So inhale, bring your arms up. And exhale, all the way down. And one more, inhale, up. Arms down. And then our third plate of rotation for a spine is twists. So let's just do a little bit of washing machine because it feels good. So just actively twisting back and forth. And And then if you're sitting on something, go ahead and come into tabletop position, so all fours. And the idea is stacking everything, so knees under hips, feet parallel to each other behind you, shoulder, elbows, wrists together. And then feel this sense, we really want to grip with our hands and not hyperextend our elbows. So if you have a tendency to hyperextend your elbows, you're going to need to consciously have a little bit of a micro bend in your elbows. And then see what it feels like screwing your hands in towards each other, maybe putting more pressure underneath your index finger, and screwing your hands into the ground the opposite direction, externally rotating your arm. And you maybe feel it in your biceps, and maybe that allows you to create more space underneath your shoulder. Now the opposing forces that we're talking about is when you're using your arms in weight bearing, your upper arm is supposed to be in that sort of external rotation to protect that shoulder joint, while your lower arm is trying to internally rotate to put pressure underneath your index finger and evenly distribute the weight across your entire hand. Also, you want to try to claw the mat or whatever your surface is a little bit, because right here is your carpal tunnel, and if you claw, then it creates a little bit of space here, so you're not putting all of your pressure on the heel of your hand and your wrist area. So it's this, having strong fingers actually relieves some of that pressure in your wrist. So upper arm externally rotate, lower arm internally rotate. Tricky. Balance of opposing things. Try to distribute your weight evenly throughout your hand and claw your fingers towards your wrist to maybe even create a little bit of space in the palm of your hand. And see if your spine is stacked still. If you're sagging too much, right, then you're not aligned, your ribs are not aligned. And if you're too arched, you're not aligned either. So straight table, and then we're going to try a couple of scapular push-ups, so your shoulder blade push-ups. So let your upper back sag into your shoulders, and then push out to arch your upper back. That's actually the position that you really want. So drop again and let it sag or hammock, and then push into out and let your shoulder blades slide down your outside of your back. Drop again and push. Okay, come on up to sitting again, or child's pose if you want. And actually, we have a guest speaker today. His name is Rocky Heron, and he's actually a local yogi, but he he's internationally known, and we're thinking about yoga push-up today, and I thought you should have a different perspective than what I've been giving you. So this is where the blocks are gonna come in, if you have blocks or something equivalent to that. So I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna try, this is my third time through this, so I'm gonna be modifying like crazy, because I'm glad you guys have some energy. Modify as needed, and but do your best not to be too comfortable. Okay. So here's Rocky. And Chaturanga is the Sanskrit name for yoga push-up.
Working on everyone's favorite pose, Chaturanga Dandasana. Chaturanga is a pose that occurs in almost every yoga class, certainly in the vinyasa style of practice, and it's a pose that doesn't often get really examined and addressed and worked on. It can be a posture that, when done correctly and performed well, can have tremendous benefit on upper body strength. And likewise, when it's performed sort of incorrectly or with some difficulty, it can put us at risk for injury and at the very least just for sort of wasting our time. So we'll get started today with 2 blocks and 2 blankets. I'm going to begin seated in Virasana on one of my blocks. If that's not a comfortable pose for you, you can sit in a different seated posture. Just make sure that your pelvis can align more or less in a neutral position on your mat. Let's start by taking a look at some of the intrinsic core muscles that will contribute to trunk stability so that we can indeed turn our bodies horizontal and push ourselves up off the ground. So with your sitting bones balanced evenly on the block, we'll begin by innervating the pelvic floor muscles. You can imagine that you were sitting on a block of ice, or the block was rather cold, and you wanted to sort of resist the freeze of the block. As you do so, your sitting bones will draw towards each other, your tailbone and pubic bone will draw closer towards each other, and there's a lift that occurs at the pelvic floor. One way this is often taught is if you were to imagine constricting the flow of urine, you would squeeze and lift the pelvic floor. So keeping the pelvic floor muscles engaged, bring your fingertips to your frontal hip points, and then bring your hands just inside, fingers just inside of the frontal hip points, and have a sense that you could narrow your frontal hip points towards each other. And this will start to tone the lower abdominal muscles, transversus abdominis. Okay. And keeping your 2 hip points drawing in towards each other, lift up slightly towards your navel. Okay. And then moving up the chain, take your hands to your 2 front ribs, and bring your 2 front lower ribs towards each other until your fingertips either touch or move closer in towards one another. This will start to tone, again, some of those transverse abdominis muscles and also some of the oblique fibers as well. Finally, bring your arms out to the side, turn your palms up, and do a slight twist to your right. And feel how there's sort of a squeeze underneath your right ribs to assist this rotation. And then do a slight twist to your left. And then come to center. It's a little bit of a brain conundrum, but see if you can isometrically twist to the right and the left simultaneously. So we get this sort of ringing corset that stabilizes the ribs and the lumbar spine. Okay. Then keeping these muscles engaged, place your hands on the top of your head. And from your pelvic floor all the way to the crown of your head, see if you can create a little bit more length or axial extension. So there's a tone and lift at the base of your pelvis, a corseting action around your lumbar trunk and your ribs, and then a lift through your crown. Now, maintaining all of this, grab onto your second block and place it out in front of you between your hands and squeeze onto the block. And this will start to recruit some of the chest muscles that we'll need to assist in pushing us up away from the floor. Squeezing onto the block and keeping your trunk stable, lift your shoulder blades up, squeeze your shoulder blades together, pull your shoulder blades down, and reach the block forward to broaden your shoulder blades. And then do a few scapular circles in one direction. If you're like me, you'll notice as the shoulder blades roll, the ribs will want to sort of flare and narrow accordingly. So see if you can move just your shoulder blades without disrupting what we achieved with the core stability, and then go the opposite direction. Good, now bring the block out in front of you, and let's reach the block away from us so the shoulder blades widen. Keep the shoulder blades wide, and then pack your shoulder blades down away from your ears. This will create sort of an additional corseting action in your middle spine and upper back. Then keeping your shoulder blades stable, squeeze onto the block, breathe in, breathe out. And on your next in-breath, bend your elbows and pull the block towards your abdomen, keep squeezing. And then exhale and press the block out in front of you. Keep squeezing and keep packing your shoulders down. Twice more, pull in. And press out, lift your pelvic floor, lift through the crown of your head. And once more, squeeze and pull in. So isometrically, we're recruiting the muscles that need to lengthen and shorten to contribute to this feat of pressing up. Okay, and then place the block off to the side. Bring your left arm out in front of you and extend at your wrist. Take your right hand and assist the stretch of your left wrist. Make sure you get your thumb included as well in this hook. Now we'll do what's called a passive range hold. So our right arm here, right hand, is assisting our left wrist into extension. I want you to see if you can maintain this position in your left wrist without the use of your right hand. So move your right hand away. Squeeze the muscles on the front of your forearm. And then curl your fingers in, make a fist, and do a counter stretch. Second side, take your right arm forward, extend through your right wrist, bring your left hand to your palm, and pull back. And keeping your right wrist in the shape as best as you can, using the muscles of your right forearm, release your left hand. That's the tricky one for me. So this is the shape that our wrist has to be in for a chaturanga. Okay, and if we don't have the strength to maintain the shape, we'll often end up sort of compressing some of the bones in the wrists and we get pain. Curl your fingertips in, make a fist, and pull your knuckles back. Okay. Let's move through some of that range together. You can bend your elbows and then extend your wrists and then make fists. Extend, straighten your fingers, make fists. Extend and fists. Now extend your fingers, pause, and much like we did with the block, sort of squeeze an imaginary block between your thumbs, tone your pelvic floor, narrow your hip points, corset your ribs, lift up through the crown of your head, breathe in. Now as you breathe out, push forward, broaden your shoulder blades, and pull your shoulders down. As you inhale, bend your elbows back. Now keep pulling your elbows back, okay, flick your palms down, and curl, make fists back behind you. Again, we'll reverse that. Extend through your wrists, scoop forward, and push forward. Inhale, bring your elbows back, flip your wrists down, curl back, and extend. Okay. Extend your fingers, come forward and push. Then bend your elbows, flex your wrists, and reach back. Okay. Extend your wrists, come forward and push, and then lower your arms. Shake out your wrists. Okay, let's lie down on our backs. We'll do a little bit more focused core work, and then we'll put this into some upper body weight bearing. Remove your blocks and lie on your back. Bend your knees. And for these supine drills, let's work with the natural curves of the spine. So that'll place our sacrum on the floor. There'll be a slight lift underneath your lower back. And then we want the middle of your spine, the back of your ribs, and your head on the floor. All right, so again, let's engage those intrinsic core stabilizers, starting with the pelvic floor. Then narrow your hip points. So if you feel with your hands, the tissue just medial from your hip points should firm up as you draw those towards each other. Then lift your lower belly, draw your front ribs in towards each other, and create that slight isometric twist from side to side. Bring your arms down by your side with your palms down. As you push your hands into the floor, that'll stabilize some of the corset muscles of your back, primarily the latissimus dorsi. Then lift your knees up so your knees are over your pelvis and your shins are parallel to the floor. And on your inhale, I'd like you to tap one foot to the floor, and exhale, bring it back up. So simple enough, switch sides, but notice if the core muscles are disrupted in any way as you move through these toe taps. So especially for me, my front ribs like to flare. I notice my pelvic floor likes to disengage. Let's move through these for about 20 more seconds. So much about the core as it relates to movement is how we can stabilize dynamically as we move our body through different positions in space. So a strong core standing is going to require different effort than a strong core in sort of a quadruped or a plank or chaturanga position. Okay. Bring your feet down, rest for a moment. You can let your legs sort of move in and out depending on if your hip flexors get a little tight there. Now you can repeat that same drill, or we can move it forward a step. This time with your shins, again, tabletop position. Bring your right arm across your body. Bring your right hand to your left thigh. Your right leg can press into your right forearm, and again, your left hand can stay down. Tone your pelvic floor, course it through your lower belly, course it through the front ribs, create that little counter twist from side to side, and even push your left hand into the floor. This time as you inhale, your right leg is going to go straight in front of you. And as you exhale, pull your right knee back towards your right forearm. Go through each side, about 20 to 30 seconds. And try and keep your core stabilizers steady as you introduce this variable of movement. If it's too much to straighten the leg, you can go back to the toe taps. And then let's switch sides. Bring your left hand to your right thigh, right hand onto the floor. Tap your left thigh to your forearm, and then inhale, straighten. Exhale, draw in. So the middle of your spine should stay heavy on the floor throughout. That's that core sitting at the top of the ribs, transversus abdominis, and a bit of the obliques. So chaturanga does certainly require upper body strength in the shoulder girdle, but the importance of core stabilizer is to keep our spine steady and really to leverage more strength and power in our arms can't be underestimated. So hence all this time spent waking these muscles up. Okay, bring both of your feet to the floor, and then let's roll over onto our abdomen. Place your forearms on the floor and bring your elbows directly underneath your shoulders. Isometrically squeeze your elbows towards each other like we did with the block. Pack your shoulders down away from your ears and bring your knees to the floor. So we'll try this first without lifting the knees. You can even untuck your feet. Okay. Tone through your pelvic floor. Start to feel a lift up through your pubic bone. Narrow your two frontal hip points. Draw your front ribs in. And begin to pull your pubic bone towards your navel until you find a lift up through your waist. Don't be surprised if your body starts to shake and quake. Breathe through it with Ujjayi pranayama as best you can. And then push the floor away from you like we did with the block so that the upper back is nice and broad and the shoulder blades can move away from your ears. Find that little counter twist from right to left. And then lengthen through the crown of your head. Take one more breath in. And then exhale, bring your pubic bone down, bring your abdomen down. You can pull back with your hands to stretch your chest and your belly. And then widen your elbows, come down, rest for a moment. So many of these drills are going to be progressive, meaning if the previous version was challenging or excessively challenging, it's not going to make sense to move on to the next. Okay. So provided that went all right, we'll move on to the next version, which will further load the arms and the core by lifting the knees off the floor. So reposition forearms, elbows underneath your shoulders, hug your elbows towards each other, pack your shoulders down away from your ears. So either knees on the floor or you can tuck your toes and lift your knees. Again, tone up your pelvic floor, draw your hip points towards each other, draw your front ribs in, and then to get your pelvis to lift, I'm going to pull your pubic bone towards your navel, lift your front ribs up away from the floor, and come into this forearm plank position. So again, push into the floor to broaden your shoulder blades. Pull your shoulders away from your ears to stabilize your latissimus muscles along your upper back, your lower back. Then line up the crown of your head with your heels and lengthen as best you can from your heels all the way through your crown. So we're stabilizing the spine and then pulling it long. Let's hold for another 5. 4, you can even pull your elbows and toes towards each other. 3, 2, and 1. Slowly lower knees, pelvis, abdomen, widen your elbows, and rest. Okay, let's do a bit of work to stabilize the posterior core, so the core muscles of your back, and also do some work to stabilize your shoulders. So stretch your legs back one at a time. And bring your arms down by your sides in Shalabhasana prep, so palms facing up. Press your hands into the floor, press your feet into the floor, lift your shoulders up, and then lift your chest and lift your head up. Okay, for today, we'll not take the gaze forward, but keep the back of your neck nice and long. Now, lift your legs up off the floor slightly so as to tone the back of your legs, your hamstrings, and your glutes, and then lift your hands off the floor quite a lot. Keep your shoulders lifting off the floor. And then much like we did seated in the beginning of practice, I want you to extend your wrists so your fingers point towards the floor. Challenge here is to keep your fingers from touching the floor and keep your shoulders from dropping towards the floor. So lift up, extend your wrists, bend your elbows, hover your hands over the floor, and then we'll go back to the starting position. Reach back, extend through your wrists. You can even make a quick fist and stretch the front of your wrist. Again, extend, lift, pull forward, and then slide back and flick up. Twice more. Extend, slide forward, slide back, and flick up. Last time, extend your wrists. Try not to touch the floor. Okay. Now this time, place your hands down. Place your knees down. Place your feet down. Keep your shoulders lifting. And like we did in forearm plank, hug your hands towards each other. Tone your pelvic floor. Narrow your two front hip points. Draw your front ribs in and pull pubic bone towards navel. See if you can hover in that modified chaturanga position for just a moment. Lengthen all the way through the crown of your head. Good. And then press back to child's pose. Move your hips a little side to side. And then sit yourself up. So just a little chaturanga teaser. We'll do a few more drills here and then check back in with that posture in a moment. So grab your 2 blankets and place the blankets at the front of the mat. If you don't have blankets, you can use even just like hand towels, just something to increase the slip and slide of the floor. And then come into a quadruped position. Place your hands on the blankets. Now, like we did in the beginning with the block, let's push down into the floor so the shoulder blades broaden. And then pack your shoulders down away from your ears. Lean forward so you have a good amount of weight in your upper body, in your arms. And then without letting your spine sink, tone your core muscles, and then slide the blankets out so your fingers point away from each other. And then slide the blankets back in so your fingertips point towards each other. And arrange that a few times. So arranging through external and internal rotation of the glenohumeral joint, which is to say we want the outer rotators able to recruit and engage at a myriad of different lengths for chaturanga. Sometimes you get very specific about where the hands need to be before we push up away from the floor. And while that might be important, ideally our body is capable of pushing away from the floor with our hands in several different positions. This will help us get acquainted with the muscles that we need to stabilize at any shape, any position. Okay, pause with your hands turned away from each other. Push into the floor. Pack your shoulders down, tone your pelvic floor, core stabilizers, lengthen through the crown of your head. Keep turning your hands, keep turning your biceps forward. Take a big breath in. And push into the hands as you breathe out. And then lean back and take your hands off the blankets. Okay, we'll try that now, weight bearing in the upper body without the blankets. So come on to hands and knees. Let's start by turning the hands in and bringing the hands a little closer together. So your thumb and index finger will form sort of a triangle position. Dig into your fingertips, lean forward, push into the floor, broaden your shoulder blades. Pull your shoulder blades away from your ears, stabilize, pelvic floor, abdomen, front ribs, lengthen through your crown, and then as if you were trying to turn the blankets out, isometrically twist your hands away from each other, which will engage the outer rotators of your rotator cuff. Now you can stay here, stage 1. Stage 2, tuck the toes, lift your knees. And stage 3 is to step your legs back into plank pose. So again, push into the floor, broaden shoulder blades, twist your hands isometrically, pack your shoulders away from your ears, tone the core muscles, and then lengthen from your heels through the crown of your head. Hold for 3, 2, and 1. Bring your knees down, sit back. You can shake out your arms. If you need a nice little stretch for your arms, you can turn your palms up and reach back. All right, let's try the other two hand positions. This time we'll go for a neutral position in the palms. Place your hands shoulder width apart, turn more your index fingers forward. Same deal, press into the floor, grip with your fingertips, turn your biceps forward so that isometric external rotation, and then move your shoulder blades away from your ears. Stage 1, stage 2, lift knees, stage 3 is plank position. So if I was to put my hand on your upper back, there should be no dip or valley between your shoulder blades. I'm going to broaden the shoulder blades, lift your spine up, and then lengthen. One more breath in and out. And then lower your knees, sit back, stretch it out. You can reach up and out to the side a little, diagonal. And then finally, we'll try with the more outer rotated position in the shoulders and the palms turned out. So turn your fingertips out. Okay, same deal, press, broaden, shoulder blades away from ears, twist your hands isometrically, lift knees or step back plank pose. Tone your pelvic floor, tone your lower belly, lengthen through your spine. Hold for 3. 2, pull your toes and hands towards each other. And 1, bring your knees to the floor, sit back on your heels. And stretch. Okay, so let's try the chaturanga position, and then we'll see if we can put the two together. You can take your 2 blocks and place them on your mat on the middle setting. If you find that it's going to be best for you to practice chaturanga with your knees on the floor, then just 1 block will suffice. Our chest is going to go onto the first block, and our thighs will go onto the second block. So we're sort of hovering over the floor here. And then much like we practiced before in Shalabhasana, lift your shoulders up away from the floor, extend through your wrists, and then place your hands down beside your chest. We'll try the neutral position first, and then we'll check in with the more medially and externally rotated positions. So lift your shoulders away from the floor, gaze forward slightly, tone your pelvic floor, tone your lower belly, draw your front ribs in, find that little isometric rotation from side to side. Now hug your hands towards each other, push into the floor, pack your shoulders down, breathe in, and as you breathe out, see if you can hover your chest and thighs off the blocks for 3, 2, and 1. Come down, rest. You can take your elbows wide. For the turned in position, bring your hands to the sides of the blocks, the side of the front block. So the hands will turn in a little bit. Now this is likely to take your elbows to the side. So hug your elbows in, lift your shoulders up. Even with the palms like this, isometrically twist forward. So push your thumbs into the block. Then tone the pelvic floor muscles, intrinsic core muscles. Stabilize your trunk. Breathe in. Breathing out, push and hover. Hold for 3, 2, and 1. Come down. Rest for a moment. Final position. Take your hands beside your chest. Turn your hands out. So if you're interested in squeezing your elbows in chaturanga, which will create more of a tricep push-up and a bit more activation on the front of the shoulder, I recommend always turning the hands out just a bit more so that you can really prioritize and access this level of rotation. So press into your fingertips, tone the core muscles, pelvic floor, all the things. Lift your shoulders, corset through your front ribs, get long from heels to crown. Inhale, exhale, lift and hover. Hold 3, 2, and 1. Come down, rest. All right, press up onto your hands and knees. Sit back on your heels, and let's remove the blocks. So, of course, if any of these drills, chaturanga starts at quite challenging. So I assume all these drills have been rather challenging for you, but if they've been challenging to the point of inability, then want to go back and continue practicing with them until you're able. Assuming that you have these drills mapped in your body so far, you can put them together and work on lowering to chaturanga and pushing back up to plank position. So we'll try 3 push-ups in each position. Feel free to bend your knees to the floor. I'll demo with knees down for the first one, and then we'll move on to the second and to the third. As an extra level of accountability, you can take your 2 blocks and place them at the front of your mat. And these are just a good reminder to keep the shoulder heads lifted, keep the scapula moving down away from your ears, and just to keep some good stabilizing activation in your upper back so the chest stays broad. Point your fingertips, rather index fingers, to the back of the blocks. Come onto hands and knees. Dig with your fingertips. Twist your hands isometrically out. Pull your shoulders away from your ears and broaden your scapula. Tone pelvic floor, abdomen. Draw your front ribs in. Lean forward. Okay. You might scoot your knees back a bit so your knees are in line with your pelvis and the crown of your head. Some of you will lift your knees up off the floor in plank pose. Now inhale in this position. As you exhale, bend your elbows, hover your shoulders over the blocks. Inhale here, and exhale, push back up. Again, inhale, lower. Exhale, push up. Last time, lower. And push up. Rest for a moment. Okay, next position. Let's turn the hands in. Bring the hands a little closer together. Lean forward. Press with your fingertips. Screw the hands. Plug your shoulders. Tone your core muscles. Option to lift your knees. As you inhale, lower. Hug the elbows in. Exhale, push up. 1, 2, 3, and rest. And the final position will be with the hands turned out. So come forward, turn your hands out to the sides, lean forward, dig with fingertips, plug your shoulders, tone your core, lengthen your spine, lift your knees, inhale, lower, pull your hands back, exhale, push up. 1, 2, and 3. Sit back, rest. Clasp your hands behind you. Stretch your shoulders. You can bring your knuckles over to the right side. Draw your elbows towards each other. Lean your head to the right. Switch sides. And give your wrists, your arms a shake. So there's lots and lots of work to be done around this posture. And if it's not possible in your body yet, there might be other strategies to further regress the pose. You can use a chair, you can bend the knees to the floor. Even working with weights can be a good idea to kind of progressively load the tissues in your chest and arms so that you can sustain your whole body weight. So don't get discouraged if it's not in your practice yet. When there's a will, there's a way. And with good skill and good practice, anything is possible. So thank you so much for practicing with me today, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Namaste.
So for the last bit of our practice, go ahead and go back into that position where we first started. So on your back, knees bent, feet wide, knees flop towards each other if that's comfortable for you. And again, connect with the ground. And be aware of your breath. And as we do that practice, were you able to find a union between over challenging yourself and being too at ease? So if you're too at ease, you don't learn anything. And if you're in a state of overwhelm, you don't learn anything. Were you able to find a place where you could challenge yourself without uh, creating pain or injury? With the mindfulness, the idea of not judging yourself, can you be okay with meeting your body where you're at right now? Can you have self-compassion? These ideas of I can't or I hate, those are judgments. Can you be okay with wherever you're at right now while being interested in challenging yourself to learn? Not enough challenge and you stagnate, too much challenge and you shut down. Can you find that balance, that union between opposites? That is yoga. That awareness is advanced yoga, being able to cultivate compassion and meet yourself where you are right in this instant. It's not the being in plank and lowering down, that's the mat, that's the important part of that pose. The sense of the pose is stacking everything, even though you're stacking your spine and having that in core engagement, even if you're not in a vertical position. But you can do plank and yoga push-up while you're lying, when you're back on the floor. Whatever modification is right for you, it's the sense of the pose, the breath, that is what makes it yoga. So go ahead and grab the tops of your knees and give yourself another little self-massage. Yeah, thank you, Bella. And rock and roll yourself back up to sitting. Thank you for joining in this challenging practice, and may the inner light in you reflect the inner light in me. Namaste, everybody.